right, your first storyteller tonight. She's been a storyteller on Moth. She's been a storyteller on Backstage PDX. Please welcome to stage Lesley Harper. That's okay. Hey. Thank you. Hi. So I had a very difficult relationship with my dad. And yeah, woo, me too. Yeah. And why? My dad we had all these things stacked against us from the get-go. My dad wasn't terribly fond of girls or women, although he didn't distinguish between the two. He referred to his Mima, who was 84 when I was a kid. I remember this. At 84, she had brought 8 kids through the Depression with an alcoholic husband, and he referred to her as a good girl. I know. Okay, so my dad and some people have this inherent self-preservation thing where they back down. And I didn't have that. I didn't get that inherently. And it turned out that it wasn't something that could be conditioned in me either. So we butted heads forever. My sister was born in 1968. And then when I came along in 1972, my father had 4 years to think about how his son was on the way. So my mom tells me that she apologized to him after I was born, because I had a vagina, so whoopsie-daisy. I'm pretty grateful for it now. But so we didn't get along, and we butted heads for years, and things would happen where he was a real slow, kind of Southern, pious guy, and I was a really fast talker, still am, but really fast for the South. And I was from the South, and people would say, my plain mama, who was my great-grandmother, would be like, "Girl, slow down, no one can hear you. No one knows what you're talking about." And I was just and in part because I had so much to say, and there were so many people that you had to talk fast or you would get cut off quickly for the local news or something. So what happens is my dad and I start to have these sorts of power struggles, where for him, respect means how you behave externally. It has nothing to do with this internal feeling. So he would demand respect, and he had no concept, he didn't understand the concept, I should say, of earning respect. He just demanded it. And so he would say things one time I was in trouble, and I don't know why. Probably I was a teenager. Probably because I had said the Lord's name in vain or something, and so I couldn't go to this party I was supposed to go to, this birthday party. And I had friends at my house, which is unusual. I never brought anyone there because it was a hoarder house. It was awful. But I had these people there, and I was just this is going to be so awful if for some reason we can't go. So I was trying to sweet talk my dad into letting me go, even though I was kind of grounded. And he was like, this is my dad, "Lesley, you touch a kettle 5 times, you get burned. You're not gonna touch it again." Okay, so if I really wanted to go to the party, what I should have done was be like, "Yeah, you're right, I know you're right." But again, my form of self-preservation is to not back down, because then I will lose myself. And so what I said was, "Actually, Dad, most people just the one time they touch the kettle. But if you need 5, well, you're dense." So did I go to the party? No, not with permission. I jumped out the window and into a car and drove away. So things like that would happen a lot, all through grade school, middle school. Things my dad said to me one time, "Lesley, you and I are always gonna be Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny. I'm always gonna be Yosemite Sam. I'm always gonna have that bigger cannon." And I said, again, "Actually, Dad, I think you mixed that up, because Bugs Bunny always got the best of Yosemite Sam." So then my dad's like, "Oh, and you're like, Yosemite Sam indeed, right?" So these kinds of things happened for a while, and then it got to the point where, it was always happening, but the ugly stuff happened too. So there was, my dad was really into corporal punishment, and what that meant for him, he was also really into I'm the head of the household, which meant that he was not in the tax way, in the way that he got to say what we thought, who we prayed to, if we prayed, for the girls, how long our hair could be or couldn't be, and we weren't able to cut our hair, although I did all the time by myself, and then we get in trouble and grounded. What we could listen to, blah 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 blah. So my dad said to me one time, he would do this thing where he would say, "Not another word, not another word," all the time, and I would go like this. I would go, "Okay," and you go, "No, not another word," and I would go, "I know, not another word," and I'd be like, "Whoop, zip, boing," and he'd be like, "Ah," and then we'd have to turn around and go home, and my siblings would be like, "God, come on, Lesley, why can't you just shut up?" And I couldn't shut up. I couldn't. I really, really couldn't. So it gets worse as I get older. It gets to the point where it becomes like the spankings, like it's not just spankings. It's like my dad would get this, he's 6'3", pretty formidable, right? And he would get this horrible look on his face, and then he would rip his belt off, and then he would put it together and he would like snap it as he walked toward you. And then depending on his mood, if he was really, really mad, he would just lash until he was done. If he wasn't really mad, he might just like put you over his lap, which is extremely uncomfortable in so many ways, and just hit you on your bare butt until he was done. And so oftentimes I would go to bed in grade school with these purple goosebumped lines on my entire body, and I would have to hold the blanket a certain way so that it wouldn't land where it was painful, and I would have to set the fan up in a certain way so that maybe it could give me some relief at night. And I would lay there wondering, what the fuck did I do, man? Like, why this, right? So as I become a teenager, I realized that, like, and I got these like more sophisticated ways to infuriate my father, and I realized that I could maybe die if I stayed, and I left. I ran away with my best friend, who had not a really good situation herself, and we ran away. I started running away when I was 12, and I would go to a friend's house, and my dogs would follow me, and I'd be like, "Just me and the dogs," and they would call my parents and be like, "Your daughter's here, come and get me," or whatever. And then by the time I was 14, we ran away for reals, and we ended up in Northwest Portland with a bunch of other Gothic marginalized youth, and we created our own sort of dysfunctional family. I was a shoplifter. That was my job. Shoplift stuff. I get lists and shoplift them because that's all I could do. I couldn't actually get a job, and I didn't want to be a drug dealer because I didn't think I'd be good at that. Mostly because I'm such an addictive personality that I would just take all the drugs and then be like, I don't know what happened. So anyway, I have to go to foster care after getting arrested a bunch. I had a warrant called adolescent out of control. That's what they called it. It's so funny. So if they stop you, they're like, "Oh, she's an adolescent out of control. We better bring her downtown." So I finally ended up going to foster care and then into this year-long facility. And I spent my 20s and my 30s really fucking mad, really angry. My family was just like, Lesley, just let it go. Show up at birthday parties and don't make a big deal about it and just stop rocking the boat and knock it off. And why do you always have to talk? Why can't you shut up? And I was so mad at everybody. And I just walked around with this chip on my shoulder and this anger and this infuriation. And I would say, I'm going to be such a good parent, man. I'm going to fucking have kids and I'm going to be so good. And you know why? Because I know what that pain is like and I know what it's like and I'm not going to do it to my kids. Ever, ever, ever. I'm going to be the best. So, 36 years old. I have a daughter. And I never wanted to hurt my daughter. And I haven't, my dad and I are very different. I don't subscribe to the, spare the rod, spoil the child, for example, right? And I've never hit my daughter, with the exception of one time when she had diarrhea and she was 2 and she kicked me in the face and I instinctively went like that on her leg. And she asked me when she was 5 if I had ever hit her, and I told her that story, and now she tells everybody that story, which is really fun. One time my mom hit me because I'm like, yeah, that's fun. So that happened one time and it was terrible and I still feel badly about it, but this is what happened. I realized that I never wanted to hurt my child, but I do hurt my child. I have there's a legacy that you don't just get rid of because you say you're not gonna do it. Breaking a cycle is so much more than that, right? And so I yell. I came from a big yelly family and I yell and it scares my daughter. And sometimes the wounded part of me is louder than the reasonable part of me. And then I have to apologize to her. And I don't always do it the way I thought I would do it. I thought it would be so good. And I realized a couple things about my dad. My father and I still don't have a relationship. I, at some point in my 30s, told my siblings and my mother, who's divorced from him now and with a new husband, something like 20 years. He's wonderful. I call him my father. He's wonderful. But they wanted me to work it out with him too. And basically what I said was, for a long time I tried and I get physically sick and it ruins me and I can't do it anymore. And things have changed with them too. They've come around a little bit and they see it more than they used to. And so they're more supportive now. But for lots of reasons, I don't have a relationship with them and I don't think that I ever will. But I do know this. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 and I started thinking when I had my daughter about my dad. I started thinking about a few things. I started thinking about the fact that when I was a little kid, when he would go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I would lay there with my eyes shut and my fist clenched, waiting for him to open the door and come back out because I was always afraid that he would hang himself or shoot himself in there. And so I had an understanding that he was really deeply sad, but I didn't have the word for it, right? And we would make fun of him all the time. Like he would say, I have to get up at 5 a.m. And we'd be like, ooh, 5 a.m. And we would like make fun of it. But like if you now, like as a mother, as an adult, I think about that, getting up at 5 a.m. with arthritis as a auto body. He had like rheumatoid arthritis really young and he still had to go and be an auto body dude and like do this hard work because that's what he could do. And he didn't have the time or the energy or the wherewithal to do something different. And he had to do this at 5 a.m. every day. And he wasn't friends with his family and he didn't hang out with anyone and he wasn't getting what he thought he should have. And it just seems really miserable. And so I'll just say that what I really want for my family, even though I make huge fucking mistakes all the time, is I want a little peace because I never had peace when I was a kid. And so in finding the humanity in my father and in finding a connective thread in our emotional lives, I am now able to experience peace. Thank you.
Lesley Harper, everybody. We're gonna get you right back up on stage. I just wanted to talk to you for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Your and my history is almost exactly the same. And
really?
Yeah, I was really connecting backstage. I was like, okay, don't freak out right now. Don't freak out. You're going to be fine. I grew up very, very religious, same exact kind of, my mom, but instead of my dad, but my mom was bipolar, like the same exact kind of trajectory. It's crazy.
Yep.
And also became a parent at 36 and had to reconcile how I was raised with how I was going to be.
Were you like, I'm going to be the best parent in the world?
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to be super
And then the first time you're like,
I am totally.
Yeah.
So the first time I yelled at him, I called my partner. I was like, I just yelled at him and I don't know what to do. And she's like, dude, you're going to yell at him. And I'm like, no, I'm not, whatever.
I'm not supposed to.
Like, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. But anyway, I wanted to know how you got into storytelling because I know you do yarn, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So I got into storytelling because I used to do theater. And then when I had my daughter as a single mom, which I'm not any longer, but when I was, I couldn't do theater anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I did them off, a story slam here, actually, on Monday. The 6th is the next one, by the way. And I won. And I was like, I am so amazing. It was so great. It was so cool. And then I did the story slam and I came in second. But anyway.
I see we match narcissism as well.
I know, a little bit. No one ever told me that I was bad at like doing this kind of thing. It was everything else. So anyway, I got into storytelling because it's a one-off. You don't have to like do rehearsals and stuff. And then I wanted to build a community around it, basically. Mm-hmm. So and get other people. I always saw the same people in the circles of storytelling. So I wanted to create a show where I could get lots of different kinds of people who maybe don't have a performance background. So I do yarn at the Clinton Street Theater. It's quarterly. Money goes to the performers and to the Clinton Street Theater's Preservation Fund. Clinton Street Theater is a 100-year-old theater. The woman is amazing, super social justice, like warrior.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's amazing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, yarn every other month. The next one's July 11th. The theme is freedom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay! 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 Lesley Harper, everybody. Fantastic job.